Welcome to Essential Ingredients. This episode is one in a 6-part series spotlighting the intersection of dine and design.
Good morning and welcome to Dine and Design. I'm Justine and Bridget, your co-host. With me is Bridget Cooper, my co-host. And with us is Elizabeth Colling, the chef and owner of Merci. Welcome.
Hi, thank you.
Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
We're super excited, and we can't wait to tell everybody and have you tell us about Merci. Tell us, what is Merci for those watching us and listening to us?
So I like to call it a cafe, not a restaurant. I don't want to own a restaurant.
Okay. What is the difference between a cafe and a restaurant for those that don't know?
That's a good question. For me, a restaurant just seems like so much to take on. We also just serve breakfast and lunch. We're open from 9 to 4, so I feel like that just feels more cafe-like.
Does it come with a full kitchen?
Yes.
Okay, I thought maybe that might have a difference in a cafe to a restaurant.
We serve coffee, but the cafe, I don't know. I'm not sure. Yeah, but that's funny you said that because I got started here at the Montecito Country Mart in this little shop over here. It was 168 square feet. And I was doing some pop-ups around town, and that space was empty. And so I asked if I could do it, have a pop-up for a week. And so they said I could. And it went really well. And so they asked if I could do it for a year. And so I rented a kitchen off-site, and we just we packaged everything and put it in a cooler and brought it, and I drove it over here, and we'd just sell it until we sold out. So it was called Merci-To-Go. And so that was how this kind of all got started. And then
that was 10 years ago?
No, sorry. That was, you know what? It was 7 years ago. I just had my second daughter.
Wow.
I was pregnant with her during the pop-up, and then I had her, and then we opened the year-long little, pop-up. And so I did that, and then it got to the point where it was just too much. And so the owner of the Country Mart said that he would build out a space with a kitchen.
Wow, that's great.
So now we have Big Merci. And then the funny thing is now, and this has happened a couple times during COVID, we've had to go back to that Merci-To-Go concept and just package everything up, and people will come and just pick it up.
It must have been great that you already had the systems in place.
So helpful. I think people knew that, and so they felt comfortable, and then it was just so easy for us to keep switching back and forth. But having just to be in one place is so amazing.
The space is so beautiful. I mean, how did you have a visual concept yourself for how you wanted the feel and the look of the space, or did you have someone?
That's a really good question. I think I have a really specific sense of aesthetic and design and what I like, but I'm not really good at translating that into, I'm not good at looking at a swatch of fabric and knowing what that'll look like on our whole banquette. But I have a wonderful friend. Her name's Abby Turin. And she's an architect and a designer. And so she came in and said she'd take on the project. And so, she helped build out the space, and then she helped design it. And she really knows me. She knows me really well and what my style is. And so she was able to take what I was trying to say and translate it into that. So it was such a good collaboration. Thank you. I love it so much. I'm really happy with it.
So I'm curious, I want to go back to when you started this. If you started this as a little kiosk almost, for lack of a better word, right? And you did you use a collaborative kitchen? Did you use a cloud kitchen?
It was hard. It was hard here to find something, but I found a kitchen. It was a caterer that just had this really big kitchen, and they were looking to downsize. And so they had an area and I had an area, and then there was actually an empanada company that had an area, and we just all shared it. We could come and go as we please. We had a space in the walk-in that was ours. We had a space we had to share the stove and everything, but we made it work.
So what was your inspiration for all this? What was your was it your background? Was it something personal? How did you decide one day to wake up and say, I'm going to do Merci-To-Go? I
went to let's see, where did it start? I worked at House and Garden magazine.
Oh, but it started before that.
A long time ago.
Right. I mean, were you in the kid cooking with your mom?
No, it's funny. You know what? I feel like I didn't know that this was a job. I feel like when I was growing up, I didn't realize that this was a job. I went to a career counselor, and this never came up as I love desserts. I've always loved desserts. But I would make, and if it was my friend's birthday, I would make them a cake, but from like a box. Nothing. I just didn't know. Yeah, I really didn't know anything. Entenmann's I loved. I loved all desserts, but yeah, I didn't know about baking and that this was a career. And I went to University of Colorado in Boulder, and I studied finance. And so then when I graduated, I went and worked at House and Garden. I worked for the managing editor, who kind of just like runs all the financials of the magazine. And there was a woman, her name's Laura Zarubin, and she was the food editor there. But since the food department, it was not really about food, it was about homes and gardens, she needed additional help but didn't have an assistant. So I said I would help her. And I loved what she was doing. I said, I want to be a food editor. I love it. And she said, well, you need to go to culinary school. And so
I didn't realize that to be a food editor, you have to also
go to culinary school.
Yeah.
If anyone asks me, I would say you don't have to go to culinary school. But that was her advice. And sorry, I will step back really quickly. Before I got the job at House and Garden, I was freelancing at Martha Stewart, and I was like, this is what I want to do. I loved Martha Stewart magazine. I think when I was little, I would look through Martha Stewart wedding magazines, and they were just so beautiful and so inspirational. I said, that's what I want to do. I want to work at Martha Stewart. So anyway, I was at House and Garden. She told me to go to culinary school. And so I said, well, if I'm going to go to culinary school, I'll go to France.
Well, but of course, right. Where else would you go?
Right. So I went and spent a year in Paris and went to culinary school there. But it was 2001. So then in September, I was finished with school and I was doing an internship. And my parents wanted me to come home. And so I wasn't going to go back to New York where it was freezing and I wasn't going to find a job and, during the holidays of 2001. And so I went back to LA and I worked at Spago. I got an internship at Spago and I was going to stay there for the holidays. And I loved it so much that I ended up staying for 2 years. And then I went to another restaurant in LA called Sona that doesn't exist anymore. And then I went to another restaurant called Bastide. And the chef there was Ludovic Lefebvre. He was really wonderful and helped me so much. And finally, from then, I said, I want to be a food editor. I keep saying that. I want to be a food editor. And so I went back to New York. And I went to Martha Stewart and I applied for a job and they hired me as a freelancer. And as a side note, they said that they wanted me to have, so I had only pastry experience. They wanted me to have savory experience. So I thought I'd get an internship in a restaurant in New York. And I ended up getting an internship at the Modern. And that's where I met my husband.
Oh, what was he doing there?
He was the wine director.
Oh.
He's in wine. He's a sommelier.
I love how they used to do the little carts with the...
Yes.
Do they still do that?
Mm-hmm. They had the bar room and then the dining room. It was so amazing.
So you met your husband there?
So I met my husband there. So, and then finally I was hired full time. So I stopped working there and I worked at Martha Stewart.
Was it everything you thought it would be, being a food editor?
It was amazing.
It was the dream.
It was my dream job and it was a dream.
That's so
yes.
great.
You didn't feel like you needed to go to culinary school for it. But what did you get out? But going to culinary school,
correct.
Did that lead to Merci?
I mean, I loved being in Paris for a year.
But would you have had Merci if you didn't go to culinary school?
I think I wouldn't have been confident to walk into Spago and say, I can work here, if I hadn't gone to culinary school. But really, when I walked into Spago, when I said I could work here, the next day I realized I cannot. I mean, it was so different than culinary school. And what I really needed was restaurant experience.
Right.
And the funny thing is that they hired me at Martha Stewart because I had restaurant experience. So it really came full circle that I really wanted to go right from culinary school to right to Martha Stewart. And I had to kind of I ended up taking this kind of detour, and it ended up working out. So I always try and tell people that, like, everything happens for a reason, and just if you don't go right to where you're supposed to be, that doesn't mean that you're not gonna get there eventually. So I was at Martha Stewart. It was amazing. And then my husband got a job in Santa Barbara. And so we moved out here, and there wasn't really a job for me. And I had a 1-year-old. We had a 1-year-old, and I didn't want to go back to working at restaurants and working at night. And so I don't know. I just thought Santa Barbara needed something like this. We just didn't have something that was just kind of.
So this wasn't a dream that you had always had.
No.
This sort of
no, it really wasn't. I feel like I had my dream.
You had your dream.
I had my dream, and then this was just this new chapter, and I kind of didn't know what to do. But I'd love to work, and that was really important to me. And so I feel like you kind of have to create something here in Santa Barbara. And so that's just kind of what happened. So I started doing these little pop-ups around town, and then this was kind of the last one that I had done here.
Okay, so now tell us about Merci and sort of what you've built here.
So I have a wonderful partner. His name's Nick Barinka, and he is, I'd say he's the chef. I'm more of a pastry chef. And he's run a number of restaurants before. And so that was so helpful. And I couldn't do this by myself. It's so much more than baking. And so that's been amazing.
How did you find your partner?
He actually was the chef at a restaurant where my husband was the wine director, up in Los Olivos. And then we just kept in touch. And then I actually asked him if he'd help and consult. And it just turned into that it ended up being that he just came on full time. And
it must be hard sometimes, when you have a partner. It's like a marriage, isn't it? It has to be, to work. So.
He's my work husband, for sure.
What were you looking for in your work husband?
I wrote it down, and I'm not that kind of person, but someone had me write it down, and I was just thinking about this because over Thanksgiving or the holidays, I've just been really thankful for everything. And I went back to look at it, and it was really everything I had written down. I just wanted someone who got my, what I wanted to do, but that had kind of really their own talent and experience and world kind of traveling and hardworking. I don't know. I feel like restaurant, and I know I'm calling it a restaurant, but just, this industry, it's the cafe industry. I'll create that term. It's a lot. It's a lot. And so just someone that really understood.
Well, I asked because we have people listening and watching, and I know that and Bridget works with her husband, right?
Yes.
So when you guys are looking for people to partner with in a business, I work alone, except of course with my co-host here on Dine and Design. I'm curious from you guys what you look for in a partner.
Well, I sort of, he was my husband, so
he wasn't.
He was my husband first, and then my business partner.
Okay.
So definitely, I think with any partnership, you bring different things to the table, and sometimes that's hard because you can butt heads a little bit. But I think it's when both people respect each other's where they're coming from, right, and can together make good decisions.
How about you? I mean, I ask this really for the guests that are watching, so that if they're looking for a partner, I'd love to share with them some recommendations you might have.
gosh. I mean, I feel lucky that it worked out that way. I'd actually been talking to someone else before and it just didn't feel right. So that was just...
That's a gut.
That was something.
Go with your gut.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Go with your gut.
And then with Nick, that actually was really helpful that he did start out as a consultant and we really we dated, you kind of got to know.
Before you get married.
Yes. So that was really important for both of us, that we didn't sign anything. We didn't do anything until, I don't know, maybe almost even a year into it. And then we're like, you know what, this is working. So, I think that was helpful.
So Elizabeth, with your cafe, do you work with lots of local farmers and brands, and how important is that to you and your business?
Yeah, no, that's really important to us. I feel like our food is really simple. We like to kind of elevate it a little and make it a little interesting, but really at the core, it's really just about good ingredients. We have the most amazing farmers market in Santa Barbara. And so there are a couple of them. The best ones are on Tuesday and on Saturday, but we also have a lot of farmers now that we have relationships with them that deliver to us, which is really nice. So we have that. We have, our barista's mother has this amazing farm up in Goleta, and she brings us, whatever's in season, all the time. And so we'll use that, which is amazing. But even our, I don't know if you know Carlos in Ojai, he roasts our coffee, Bonito coffee, which is amazing. And we actually, the one thing we don't make is our bread. And so we get our bread from a bakery in town, brioche. I don't know. It's just really important to have really great relationships with,
so you like to
with everyone in town. Absolutely. And then and then how could you not use everything?
Think about, I notice at Christmas and Thanksgiving and the holidays when you come out with those special menus and they're just so amazing.
Those are so fun.
How do you decide, what's going to go into that? And is that between you and Nick, or is it?
Yes. Actually, yeah, we love doing different holiday menus and fun things. I think we just kind of think about just what we're in the mood for. We always try and put a little French touch to it. And sometimes we'll try something and it won't work and we'll move on to something else. And sometimes we'll try something and we'll love it and we'll just try and make it better. And I feel like that's the fun, creative part of it. So, and we just try and make it work together, that the savory goes with the sweet. But,
would you look at opening any more Mercies?
It's a good question. Absolutely. But it's really important that we get this one really running correctly. I don't think it's ever going to be perfect. I want to use the word perfect, but I unfortunately don't think that that's ever going to happen. But I think we can get it to a place where we really feel good about it and really feel like it's meeting its like maximum potential, and that we feel comfortable stepping away a little bit.
Where would you want to expand next?
I don't know. It's so funny. We get a lot of people. It's so nice. A lot of our out-of-state customers come in and they're like, "Oh, I wish you'd open in
New York,
Aspen, New York,
Chicago."
And so it's so fun to hear what they're saying. I think Nick is thinking about maybe moving somewhere. And so we would maybe think about where he would want to go. Right. We really like the idea of this small town. I love Boulder. I went to Boulder and, I love that. We were talking about Bend, Oregon. I don't know, maybe we'll do like a little tour and kind of go check some places out. But I do love that I have this here and that we live here. It's really so nice.
I was just going to say, would you design the menu according to the town? So change it according to where you are. So Aspen, being a cold town, calls for really warming foods in my mind.
Right. We're definitely seasonal here. So, I mean, produce-wise, that dictates a lot of what we do. It doesn't get too cold here. I think my husband makes a delicious hot chocolate, and we've been doing that in February, like hot chocolate month, but it's not always cold in February. So it's not the best seller, but, so we could do that year round. We could have a great hot chocolate. So sure, yes.
Do your daughters love to be in the...
You know what? That's one of my favorite parts of this, actually, is that I was so worried that it was going to be so hard for them that I wasn't home all the time, or, couldn't take them to school every day. And that was really something that I didn't even know if I wanted to do because of that. And it's so wonderful. They come here every day to visit me. They work. We put them to work in the kitchen, in the front. My little one is learning how to be a barista. She's 7. She loves it. She's so good at it. They do the cash register. It makes me so happy. And then, they'll come home with a story from school that they wrote a story, and they'll say it'll be about Merci, or it'll be about my mom's a pastry chef. And it makes me so happy that they're seeing what I'm doing, and that they're
as well.
I think that's so important.
Your passion, so
yeah,
great lesson.
It makes me happy.
So do you have any recommendations or words of wisdom, for lack of a better, for any new entrepreneurs that want to open up a cafe? Because you seem to have done it successfully. However you want to define success, that would be my next question.
Oh, gosh.
But for those new entrepreneurs or young entrepreneurs out there, because you started so well, right? You did it with a small cafe, and then you built it out. And so any recommendations for those young entrepreneurs out there? I'd love advice from anyone too. Well, we need to give advice up and down for everyone, right?
I think, so many things. But yes, I think that was so helpful, are these I really had a lot of experience in a lot of different at magazines and restaurants and then pop-ups. I think that was really, to do the small one and see how that went and get a feel. And then like we were saying with Nick, we tried that out, and it was kind of trying it to make sure, instead of jumping into this, just something that was really unknown. This has really been a big part of my life. But
so sort of taking it slow,
to take it slow,
learn as you go, and before you make the next move.
Yeah, and then just really to know, and I guess I knew this, but it's so much, and I guess it's so much more than being a pastry chef. It's it's running a business, and it's really,
your finance background,
it's really a lot. That's so helpful. I wish I had a human resources psychology background. It's a lot with that. Problem troubleshooting. It's just to know that it's not just baking cookies.
It's not just baking cookies.
No.
So do you think that it's important to? So you can't know everything. So so how do you solve that problem?
Look what just happened the last couple, you just have to learn by doing it.
I'm sure all the pivoting you've had to do through COVID, for hospitality, I can't imagine just, one day you're open, the next day you're not allowed to open. How was that for you and your team?
It's just, it's been so challenging and so crazy, but rewarding. We just have to learn and try and see what happens. Yeah. And keep going. Thank you.
My best recommendation.
I love it.
I got this from my mom. This is not mine. Okay. But my mom always taught me as a kid, she was also an entrepreneur, surround yourself with people that have the expertise that you don't have. So that is what I've always tried to do. I'm not an expert in everything.
Yes, no one is.
Right?
No.
So I can't do human resources. I can't do this. I can't do that. But Bridget will tell you, I do try to surround myself with experts in the things that I don't know how to do, so I can do things a whole lot better.
I think that's such good advice. Yes. And then you just have to love it.
And then you have to love it.
You have to love it.
Elizabeth, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. I appreciate it so much. Thank you, guys.
To find out more about this episode of Essential Ingredients and access show notes, check out Next Gen Chef and choose podcast in the menu bar. If you like this episode, head to iTunes or Next Gen Chef's YouTube channel to subscribe. Learn more about Next Gen Chef, the platform that powers this podcast, by checking out our website or visit us on Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn at Next Gen Chef. You can also check out my Instagram at Justine_Reichman. If you have thoughts about this episode or future episode ideas, leave us a comment at Next Gen Chef's YouTube channel or drop an email at team@nextgenchef.com. Thanks for joining us.